Sorry. Didn't see you there. So I was just watching the international break. How was it? Hello and welcome to the Gonosaurus. Back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, the show in which we react to the latest Arsenal news, transfer speculation, and matches. And yes, it is the international break, which means that there's just, I don't know what it is, but a scale of 1 to 10 in the chat, in the comments. How do you find it? 10 being, I quite like for a 10. I love the international break being a 10, and you know what to do with the rest if you're going to score lower down. I just don't know what it is. I was sitting there for my shift today at 101 doing my writing, and there's just something that you just can't, especially as a massive club fan, that you can't quite gut for. And I was writing a piece today about Spain and how the Spanish national team has kind of changed. And there's just, part of it was, how much I love the Spanish national team, looking into it. But looking through the team, 18 of the 25 members of that squad are from different teams. Gone are the days of the Xavi and Iniestas and the like, and Real Madrid and Barcelona dominating it. And I was just thinking, even international football has changed now. Gone are the Pirlos, gone are the Cannavaros, gone are the Ronaldos of Brazil, gone are these days of pure glory and taste of amazing international football. And here's the Nations League. It is what it is, isn't it? I mean, I'm going to stop ranting now about the international break, but I'm sure that I have a lot of empathy for you guys. Wow. Just looking at some of your responses to what I was saying. Yeah. Iran have a new manager. Okay, Janice. Well, that makes it might be a little bit more exciting. I mean, if you're an England fan, watching England in international qualifiers and friendlies has never been a great affair. Alex says he never watches an international match whilst the domestic season is underway. O'Malley says 2 out of 10. I'm constantly hoping none of the players get injured. And that's the other thing, isn't it? You're just going, oh, please don't get injured, please. Speaking of the international break, we should mention something. Because our brand new player did play during the international break, Thomas Partey did, of course, play for Ghana and got absolutely battered by Mali, 3-0. Amadou Haidara for RB Leipzig got the last goal. I was about to say it's a very good goal, but it's quite a weird one. He smashes the ball against the post that comes straight back to him on the left-hand side from a tight angle. He then finishes it the second time I've asked him. But Partey got 3 out of 10, I think it was. I saw in the article that I was reading, which was the highest score bar one player on the Ghana team, if that gives you any sense to tell you how bad the Black Stars were in that game. It was unbelievable. And the Eagles, Mali, took it absolutely no problem whatsoever. So I believe the Ghana national team's called the Black Stars. I think it is. Someone will have to tell me in the chat. I think it is. I know the Mali team's called the Eagles. But yeah, all the African teams have got their own nicknames, haven't they? So when you're looking at sort of you can't take anything from that game. You can't take anything from that game. It's just... It's just it is, isn't it? It's just the international break. Yeah, it is the Black Stars. Thank you, Emily. But when we now look ahead to what the upcoming season is going to hold for us, Mesut Ozil is at the forefront of the latest sort of controversy. We ended the transfer window the morning of the day we signed Partey. Gonosaurus was made redundant, and it was a very, very sad day. And I'm not taking the mick because genuinely it is. I didn't enjoy the news. It was horrible. So looking at, I understand that redundancies are necessary. I understand that clubs across the board are making these changes. It's very, very hard to say that you understand it and then the club go and spend £45 million on a player. But you do need to separate those two things, in my opinion. They are in different circles of the club's operations. You have the match day experience operations and the staff that run that side of things. And then you have the football club, and you have the business side of it, the players and the transfers. Now, we did still streamline a lot of those, and a lot of the people within the football club, scouts especially in the recruitment side, did still get made redundant. Now, that apparently, from what I've read, was not only down to COVID, but also down to a necessary streamlining of all of the sort of recruitment network, and we're going to a much more stat-based type of recruitment. We obviously purchased Stat DNA, which has been used to identify players such as Mohamed El Neni and the like. But when you're looking at actually what we need to do, is that we need to be smarter in the transfer market. And we were making some pretty bad decisions throughout the last decade or so on most, no, maybe not most, but at least half of the transfers that we made. I'd say there were things that you could turn around and go, I'm not sure that was the most wise of moves, to be honest. But anyway, Gonosaurus getting made redundant. Now, there was I don't know if you saw this, but on Sky Sports, Paul Merson, and in his infinite wisdom, Paul Merson, who divides opinion as a Chelsea fan, as an ex-Arsenal player, made a joke about Gonosaurus being on £80,000 per week. And a lot of people took that seriously. I don't really know why. I don't know. Who thinks that a mascot's on 80 grand a week? I mean, come on now. He's not on £80,000 a week. That was a joke. But what he did say was that he was very cynical about it. I can completely understand his cynicism about it. But at the end of the day, the story was that Mesut Ozil has decided that he was willing to reimburse Arsenal for Jimmy Key, however we pronounce it, his wages. And who's the guy that's in the suit, of course, for those of you that didn't know. And he offered to reimburse his wages. Now, Mesut Ozil, in general, is a very charitable person. He puts in loads of money towards charities all the time. And then you've got the other side of it, of Mesut Ozil, which is an excellent PR side of things. He is represented really, really well. His partnerships, the way that he does things, it's great. His image looks really good. It's very attractive for sponsors, etc., etc. And a lot of people I saw making the link between this being a PR stunt and Ozil obviously wanted to try to get back into the team. And I couldn't quite believe it, really. I mean, I know that the world is in a pretty dire, depressing state right now, but to think that this was a PR stunt is unreal. I couldn't get on board with that idea at all. To think that that it was some kind of thing to make him look great, to make him look good. I mean, first of all, let's break this down. The club that he is trying to get back into, he wants to play for them again. He said that on multiple occasions. He wants to try and get back into Arteta's team. And by the way, I should caveat, this is coming from someone that is more than happy to see Mesut Ozil's 350 grand per week taken off the wage bill and for him to be moved on. I'm not in favour of him just wallowing on the bench and using up all that cash. I'm not in favour of that at all. I don't know if you want to call it, I'm not a pro Mesut Ozil, and you see a lot of people that will do anything to try and see Mesut Ozil put back into the team. But what I will say is that it was ridiculous to think that it was a PR stunt. It genuinely was generosity. And to think that he would do something that would actually make his reputation amongst maybe people within the club not so great when you think about it, because these are people that have just made him redundant. One of your employees, the wages that you're paying him are going to be used by him and his own discretion to offer to reimburse the wages. Now, if Arsenal were to accept Ozil's offer to reimburse, it would make them look pretty bad, pretty bad. So I don't imagine it will happen. It's a very, very tricky situation now for both Ozil, the club, and Gonosaurus, who is, of course, involved in this. But also, a big thing that's come around Ozil has been his exclusion from the Europa League squad. And then the next question is going to be, is he going to be included in the Premier League squad? And my mind is thinking that at the moment, he doesn't get into that Premier League squad at all. We've got too many foreign players. He's not playing. I think we can make a pretty strong assumption as well that a lot of his wages, not a lot of them, but a proportion of his wages are probably performance bonuses as well, and appearance bonuses possibly. And therefore, him not playing means that obviously Arsenal would save money. So him not getting into the team in the long term, in this term, whatever, would save Arsenal money. And he hasn't necessarily been given an opportunity yet by Mikel Arteta to show what he's like on a competitive stage. He was given a friendly during the pre-season, but we've seen nothing of him in the squad so far. And to be left out of the Europa League squad as well, I think tells you all you need to know, really. When you think about the games that he could have played, those lesser teams in the Europa League group stage were probably the perfect opportunity to try and get him back some minutes. That's now not going to happen. So I just can't quite understand where the thought would be to put him into the Premier League squad now. It wouldn't make any sense. But there was a report that came out that Arsenal were going to try and re-enter negotiations with Ozil about terminating his contract. Now, this is a very easy article to write, of course. He's not in the Premier League squad, maybe. He's definitely not in the Europa League squad. He's had this controversy with Gonosaurus, which made the club look quite bad. And now you've got a situation where the club, like, it's an easy opportunity for someone to write an article to say that, yeah, the club are going to enter negotiations with him to try and run down or to get an early release of that contract. We know that isn't going to happen. And I think the latest information that came out today or yesterday was that it isn't going to happen, that he hasn't, or negotiations haven't even started. It was a complete bit of lazy journalism probably that led to that. And people just put 2 and 2 together, I guess. But it's just a sense of that if you look at what that would have cost Arsenal. I mean, since the last time that Ozil played a competitive game, Arsenal have paid nearly, maybe even more than £11 million. Since March, which was his last game competitively, Arsenal have paid out 11 million odd quid to Mesut Ozil. They'd love to get him off the books. They'd love to. But it's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. So I'd be interested to get your thoughts, though, in the chat box. So let's go and look through some of these. So Rodney says, I can't take anything Ozil says or does seriously. He's just putting himself on an island with all the decisions he makes, but then claims he loves Arsenal and cares about them. I mean, yeah, it's very oxymoronic, isn't it? Some of the things that go on. I get what you're saying, Rodney. He does one thing, it contradicts what he said about Arsenal. So yeah, Chris says, listen, Ozil does charitable things and seems like a good person, but when you give money to charity or a homeless person, do you broadcast it to the world? I mean, no. And a lot of the charitable things that Ozil does are done completely behind the scenes, utterly behind the scenes. It's not publicized, it's not broadcast, and most of the stuff that he does go on behind the scenes, and he doesn't have it publicized at all. So if you need any evidence that he really isn't actually bothered about the sort of the perception of him in being the charitable person that we know that he is, there's evidence to suggest that is the case. Michael says, I don't want him at training mixing with our players, ruining the good vibes. I'm not sure. I don't think he's going in and sabotaging things, mate. I think that might be a little bit extreme. Guna Seb says he won't get registered, but I would love to see the back of him in January. Ed says, just cut him a check and let everyone on both sides move on with their lives. Well, the good news is, Ed, is that obviously we've only got a year and then it's done. And then we don't have to worry about it anymore. And he'll be moved on. So we don't have to worry about them. We won't have to worry about it. He is 100% not getting included in the squad, says Michael. Dave, one of our fantastic new members, says just the last thing that Ozil should be doing is mugging off Arsenal if he wants to get back into the team. Exactly, in regards to, obviously, like the way that he wants to get back in, if he's going to mug the club off. But, you know, he's done something very controversial and something that does go against the club, to be fair. Jason Martin says, hang on, didn't he refuse a pay cut? And now this is another thing that happened. I'm completely on board with that. I said this when it happened. I have absolutely no problem with Mesut Ozil or any player turning around and saying, I'm not taking a pay cut, because they're not entitled to. They don't have to do it. It wasn't forced upon them. They were given the choice to do it. And if you were given the choice to do it, now and I said this last time, I said that if the lifestyles of someone earning that amount of money are based around that amount of money that they earn, the same way that your lifestyle is based around the amount of money that you earn, and you do things within the parameters of your wages or the collective wages of your household. And Mesut Ozil's outlay and financial outlay of his lifestyle, which he is subscribed to through the wage that he earns, and he's completely entitled to that. The club gave him that contract at the end of the day. he doesn't have to take that pay cut if he doesn't want to. As we've talked about already, he has a lot of commitments in regards to the charities that he does donate to. And I have absolutely no problem whatsoever with him saying, I'm not going to take a pay cut. It was 12.5% that most, if not all of the squad, besides I think it was Ozil or maybe one other player, that didn't take that pay cut. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. We've got a year left of his contract left. He's got his lifestyle. We've got our lifestyles. And sometimes I think that footballers can get very victimized for the amount of money that they earn. And it's not down to them how much money they earn. They're in the business. They're lucky enough to have this position, and the same as anyone else. Just because it means they earn more money doesn't necessarily mean that they're the ones that turn around and go, yeah, we'll take the pay cut. So I just don't buy it. I just don't live by that law, as it was. Javier says, hopefully this is a lesson learned by Arsenal. Just ride it out and move on. And hopefully Arsenal will. Hopefully Arsenal will learn from this, be a little bit more savvy with the contracts that they offer their players, especially depending on their age and the types of players that they're going for. Beast Titan says, no excuse, Tom. They are planning to give him 90% of his money now and the other 10% in the summer of 2021 transfer window. That's what I heard. Haven't heard that from anyone that's of credible note to me. Every noise that I've heard is that whilst they would like to get him off the books, I don't think Ozil's going anywhere at all. That's the conflicting to what I know, Titan. Matt Gray says, people use him not taking a pay cut to attack him. Forget that there were two other players who also refused. He's an easy target, Matt, at the end of the day. He is an easy target. And as I say, always, I'm more than happy to see the back of him and move on. But he is scapegoated. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that he is scapegoated by a lot of the fan base. Malcolm Scott says, I understand he's not entitled to take a pay cut, but that also singles him out from the group with two other players. Again, somehow it's Ozil that we find out is not taking the pay cut. We don't find out about the other ones. Plus, if I can take a 20% pay cut, I'm sure Ozil can manage 10%. And again, it's not comparative, Malcolm. You can't compare yourself to these people that are on completely different planes of existence to us. It's just a different scenario. It just is, unfortunately. Daniel Roberts says, love how all of our new players are earning so much less, like Tierney, Saka, Martinelli, Gabriel. I don't know, Daniel, I'm assuming they love how all of our players are earning so much less in terms of, I don't know if that's a blanket statement or if there's an element of sarcasm, but I actually do love it. I do love how all of our new players are earning so much less than the others, because we need to manage our wage structure so much better than we had done. Anyway, we've got very kind of bogged down. We got very bogged down on the Ozil side of things. There's one more story that I want to cover. William Saliba has a few days, 6 days, I believe it is, to find a club to go on loan to. Now, very much, I would like you in the chat box just to reply and say either loan or keep for the season. And before you write that down, just think about, is he going to get into the side? Has he had enough playing time and experience to get into this Arsenal team yet? And is he going to get the games to develop enough this season? So thinking on that basis, loan or keep? Let me know in the chat box. Now, the information, as I said before on the last show, a friend of mine who's very ingrained with Brentford said that Pontus Jansson, who's there, is not getting usurped in that right centre-back slot in most of the games this season. Therefore, for Saliba to go on loan to Brentford doesn't really make too much sense. I'm not sure if he'd get the game time at Brentford that he would necessarily need. Now, Watford is another option for Saliba, supposedly, and that actually makes a lot more sense. I could see him getting more minutes in the Watford side than I can see him getting in the Brentford side. I don't particularly want him going to a team right far down the bottom of the Championship that gets battered week in, week out. Mentality-wise, I'd rather he was playing in a more competitive, possession-based, dominant team, quite like Arsenal can be in most of their games. Let's have a look at what you guys are saying. Yeah, there's a lot of people saying loan, and that is 100% where my head's at as well. So many of you are saying loan, and I can completely understand why. Jared says loan if he's promised 20-plus games. And I think that Arsenal will be looking very carefully about, the clubs that they actually pick. Because if you think about what happened with Eddie Nketiah, you don't want that situation again, recycling, and we send out a player that's promised games, he doesn't get games. And that should be included in the contract, is that the loan fee You should put a loan fee on there that reduces the more games that he plays, if you know what I mean. Put a loan fee that's a little bit over the top, but say to them, if you play him in this many games, we will then reimburse, etc., this amount of money. Because it needs to be an incentive for the club to play him in games. And that's one of the only ways you're going to see any guarantees about happen, if there is a financial incentive to play this player in more games. And it needs to be done more cleverly by teams, 100%. Mark says, Chambers coming back, 8 English player rule, loan is the only option. Why not Brighton? Brighton, obviously, is a Premier League squad. I'm not sure whether you're going to see that. I'm not sure you're going to see him go to a Premier League side. I just don't think there's any teams in the Prem right now that would take the risk, especially further down the league, that are fighting for their survival. I'm just not sure if it would. YY says, if we keep Saliba this season, someone has to miss out on the game time anyway, such as the likes of Pablo Mari. Peter Renner says, I would love to see him play, but he needs at least 20 games plus. For me, I would send him out to someone like Norwich, unless they replace the centre-back they sold. I think it could be a good fit. Of course, they did sell Ben Godfrey to Everton. Jared Carver says, Brighton have Dunk and White. Don't think he would get in that team. I think they have Elliott, is it, as well, at the back, who can play too. Nico says next season he'll be 6'5" or 6'6". We're actually looking at the way he's growing now. He's still got to grow physically, and that is scary. We'll look like a basketball team with Partey, Gabriel, and Saliba. Daniel Roberts says, I really want him to go to Reading on loan. 12 points out of 12, and I feel Reading need a centre back. Rodney says, agrees with John P. Yep, it's really draining and has been for 3 years now. Yannick Max says he should be playing. Other than Gabriel, we don't really have a better centre-back than him, in reply to what Archie was saying, which was because he hasn't played, he still needs a season before he can get in. 100% agree with you, Archie. He does need a season, 100%. He needs a season before he gets into this Arsenal team, and he just hasn't had that. He hasn't had that so far. Is he better than what other centre-backs we've got at the club? Is he better than Holding right now? No, he's not better than Holding right now. Holding's done very well this season in the Premier League, and we can all look at the new toy and think, oh, he's going to be great. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he can come straight in and start and smash it. And if he has a really bad start, then that confidence-wise could really have a big impact on him. So to finish the show, thank you so much for listening. If you are watching on playback or in the live chat, make sure you stick around to put your comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think we should be doing with Saliba. Who would you like to see him go to? And what are your thoughts around the Mesut Ozil situation? It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you, as it always is. If you could drop a like on the video to let me know that you're enjoying things. We've been really getting close to that 20,000 subscribers. We're getting very, very close now. I think we're only just about 500 odd subscribers away now. So exciting times as we hit that 20,000. We'll have to do something special. Something we'll have to get sorted out for 20,000 subs. But amazing, amazing stuff. So thank you ever so much, guys, for always tuning in, always supporting the channel, and most of all, enjoying the content and dropping your likes and the nice comments as well. If you want to follow us over on at the Gonna Talk TV, please do. But other than that, it's been a pleasure to speak to you, and I will see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal. Just try. We've got a few more days, and the international break's over. We can do it.